Hey guys, it's Tuesday and last night poor Sam fell out of bed and woke himself up in a right state, so not much sleep was had last night, but I don't think we can really say that was down to Sam waking up normally. So we'll try again tonight with the antihistamine and see how he gets on. Now today I thought that I would share the things that made us actually suspect that Sam had autism in the first place. I know that's something that quite a lot of people ask us. This topic is something that my blog gets quite a lot of traffic about, so it is something that I know people are searching the internet for. So I thought a video might be a good way to share what raised concerns with us, I suppose. Sam's nearly 5 now, and Sydney, our daughter, is 12 months younger than Sam, literally. So going back to when Sam was 18 months old and Sydney was 6 months old, it was Christmas time and Sam still wasn't walking, still wasn't talking, he wasn't really giving any eye contact. He didn't really play with toys in the normal way. He'd sit and spin wheels on cars, but other than that his main source of entertainment was watching the TV, or he would, now this sounds crazy, but honestly he would run and jump on his knees. He couldn't stand on his feet, he couldn't walk, he didn't pull himself up onto furniture, anything like that, but he could run on his knees and he'd jump up and down on laminate floor and we'd be like cringing thinking, geez, that must be killing him. But he thought it was the best thing ever. So there was that. He wasn't responding to his name, he wasn't clapping. Basically, Sydney was starting to hit milestones that Sam hadn't done yet. Sydney was, following us around the room with her eyes, starting to babble, starting to play with toys even more than Sam was at that point. So yeah, that was initially what worried us. What we did was I rang our health visitor and basically said to her, look, he's not doing this, he is doing this and this. I suspect autism, what do we do next? And I explained that I used to work with people with autism, and because I said that, the health visitor said, right, I'll refer you straight to a paediatrician now. Usually I'd have to come out and do an assessment, but because you've just given me such a definitive list, I'll just refer you straight away to the paediatrician. So that's what happened. That was the first week in January of 2013. And then we got an appointment for the month after the February. It was actually the day before Valentine's Day. I remember that because I hate Valentine's Day. And we saw the paediatrician, and at that point she was kind of saying, well, it could be autism, but it could also be delayed development. It is something that happens with quite a lot of boys, especially the eldest boys, because they're not socialising perhaps as much as children with siblings do. And that made sense to me because I fell pregnant so quickly after having Sam. And I had such a difficult pregnancy that we weren't going to as many groups as I wanted to, and we weren't seeing as many of my friends who had babies and stuff, so it made me feel awful, I suppose. I kind of felt like Sam was behind his peers because I'd not been doing what I should have been, and I felt that I had always engaged with him, I had always encouraged him, but Sam just wasn't the kind of baby that enjoyed that type of activity. Sydney wanted to be with me all the time, looking at me, being held, being played with, being tickled. Sam, he was much happier just doing his own thing, and he got nothing out of me engaging with him. So it wasn't really that I didn't do it, it was just that he didn't enjoy it and he didn't seem to gain anything from it. So anyway, we were referred for hearing tests for Sam, which at first they were trying to fail him on, but they were playing noises that had no interest whatsoever to Sam. As soon as I played the Rah Rah the Noisy Lion theme tune behind him, he was turning round. That kid could hear perfectly. He just didn't want to respond to their boring beepy noises. So in the end, they said, okay, he's failed our test, but we're confident he can hear. Then we had speech therapy and was it psychiatrist or psychologist next? I think it was psychologist next. And at that point Sam was a couple of months off too, I think. They put him at 12 months behind his age, which really upset me because Sydney, if anything, was really advanced, so in a lot of ways it was kind of like having twins, because Sydney did pretty much everything at exactly the same time Sam did, if not slightly earlier. I mean, the one exception to that was walking. Sam eventually walked at 22 months old and Sydney walked a couple of weeks after. That was the one thing that Sam kind of beat Sydney at, and even then he only just managed it. But at the time it was quite disheartening that people were trying to say, yeah, it might not be autism, but I knew it was. You know, I was convinced it was autism from that first phone call I made. So after all the assessments were done, they observed him in nursery and they said, yeah, we're fairly certain now that it is autism. We're going to refer you to the psychiatrist at this point. So Sam saw them in December 2013 for the first time. He was 2.5 then, and they basically on that first assessment said, yeah, it's autism. We can't diagnose at this point, but yes, it is autism. And then the following March we went again to see the psychiatrist, or the CAMS team, if you want to call them that, and they at that point said, right, we're ready to give him a diagnosis. He has got autism. He's got typical or low functioning autism. At that point when they told me that, when they said, yeah, we're giving him a diagnosis now, I felt like I'd been split in two. Part of me was so happy that he finally had a diagnosis and we could finally get the support that he needed. But the other half of me was kind of heartbroken, because although I was glad they'd finally agreed with me, I was also gutted for Sam that this was the case, and we can do everything in our power to help Sam and help him to progress, and we will do that. But it was gutting being told that, yeah, Sam has got this, he's not just a typical boy being lazy, as so many of my friends and family told me, and that's a story for another time. But the amount of times I was kind of going when people were telling me that, I stopped talking to people because it was so frustrating. So yeah, that's how we got up to our diagnosis point. So if you're watching this and you've got concerns about your own child, what I would say is make a list of what your concerns are, both the things your child is doing and the things your child is not doing. Try and get some videos. I think that was something that really helped us. I mean, Sam was 3 months before his 3rd birthday when he was diagnosed, and I know that is really early. So many people have said their child was 5 before they were diagnosed, but I think because I was so proactive in gaining evidence, there was nothing they could do really to fob me off. I wasn't gonna say, okay, let's wait for 2 years, that's fine. I just was not going to do that. I had videos of him stimming around the house, videos of him rocking, videos of him flapping, spinning round, screaming at the top of his voice with excitement. And the fact that I could show all of these videos to both the paediatrician and the psychiatrist, I think really did help us to get the ball rolling as quickly as we did, because you go to these appointments, you've got 15 minutes, usually your child's stuck in the pram, so they look just like any other child, and these professionals, they've only kind of got your word for it, and as much as they believe you, they can't just take you at face value on the first instance. So by having all this evidence there with you for them to physically see for themselves what you're telling them, I think it does definitely speed things up a little bit. Now, you can obviously still get support for your child without the formal diagnosis, but I found personally that for us, we got so much more help and support from our local authority once we had it there in black and white, exactly what Sam had, exactly what support was needed. Speech therapy, we waited 8.5 months, desperate for speech therapy. Sam wasn't saying a word. He was nearly 3 years old and wasn't saying a word. And it was 2 weeks after that psychiatrist appointment when they said, yeah, he has got autism, but we can't diagnose him at this point, that suddenly I mentioned to them that he'd not seen a speech therapist, and suddenly we get an appointment. So push is my advice. If your health visitor tells you they don't refer until your child is 5, as I've heard some people say, or until the 3, as other people have said, that is absolutely not the case. If your health visitor tells you that, tell them that you're going to go to your GP then, because your child needs support. If you physically ask for a referral, they usually give you one. So just bear that in mind. If anyone does try to tell you that, no, you're not being referred yet, your child's too young. I'm going to end this video here. I will do a follow-up video and talk about our school journey. We had a nightmare getting Sam a school place, but that's a topic for another day. So thank you very much for watching. This video is longer than usual. If you've stuck with it all the way through, then thumbs up to you. If you've enjoyed this video and you want more content like this, then let me know down below. Feel free to like, subscribe and share as always. Thanks for watching.